Have we been lied to throughout our lives? Hey everybody, I'm Dan McClellan. I'm a scholar of the Bible and religion. Let's take a look at a video.
How many of you guys out there think that it's coincidence that in ancient Ecuador and ancient Mesopotamia, which happen to be 8,000 miles apart, have the same artwork and the same depictions and similar stories and mythology?
Ancient Ecuador and ancient Mesopotamia do not have the same artwork or mythology. The image that was shown on the left is a small gold plaque that came from the collection of a man who is known as Father Cresby. This was an Italian priest and missionary who spent over 60 years in Ecuador and, among other things, amassed a collection of more than 5,000 artifacts that ostensibly came from La Cueva de los Tallos in Ecuador. And Father Cresby purchased the majority of those things from locals who would come to him and say, look what we found in the Cueva de los Tallos, and he would purchase those things from them, or they would be donated. Now, researchers have gone in and examined the artifacts. The overwhelming majority of them still exist. They are in the possession of the Central Bank of Ecuador, and they have found that while the majority of the artifacts are genuine pre-Columbian artifacts, there are a bunch of modern forgeries strewn in there. And in fact, Father Crespi himself acknowledged that there were a lot of forgeries that were sold to him, but because these were locals trying to carve out a living, he wasn't being very strict about that kind of thing. And this gold tablet is a part of a collection of gold tablets, all of which have imagery that are a mishmash of a variety of different cultures and are very clearly modern forgeries. There is no context for this. There is no provenance for any of this. These are things that were just a part of this collection. We have no idea who sold them to Father Crespi, when, or where they came from. But there are absolutely no data whatsoever that actually support the notion that in ancient Ecuador they had not only these winged creatures who are seeding the sacred tree, but also Lamasu figures and things like that. These are very clearly modern forgeries.
There comes a point in time where we're going to have to critically think and we're going to have to understand and accept that we've been lied to, we've been misled throughout our lives, throughout our history in multiple different arenas, multiple different areas of life, multiple different topics and subjects, so on and so forth. We've just been misled in virtually everywhere you could think of.
Yes, if you bothered to think critically and Google competently, you would have discovered that you were misled by whoever told you that was a genuine artifact. And now, because it fits into your worldview and it makes you feel good, you are further spreading that misinformation and ironically telling people to think critically about it at the same time.
I always felt in my heart of hearts, ever since I was a little boy, that there was a mythical world out there, a spiritual world out there, apart from just being a Christian. I always felt that the stories that they would show us, if you guys can remember Percy Jackson, that came out when I was growing up, the first movie, and I felt that that story had some truth to it. I felt that the way that the story was told, well, they were trying to actually tell us a little bit of our history.
Yes, relying on intuitions instead of on critical thinking is precisely the reason that idiotic conspiracy theories, pseudo history, pseudo archaeology, pseudoscience, why all of that spreads so far and so wide today and makes so many people so much money.
Also, I was a very imaginative kid, so that probably had to do with it. But here we are, grown man. The Lord has led me through the truth and led many of you guys through the truth. And we can see that, yes, in fact, these old stories, these myths of old, they're not so much myths, they are history.
No, they're not.
You see, the Bible tells us in Genesis 6, and the Bible also references the book of Enoch, which in the book of Enoch, Enoch accounts, and he tells us that the sons of God, the angels, they fell. When they fell from grace, they fell from glory, and they came down to earth. And what they did was they saw the daughters of men and they saw that they were beautiful and that they were fair. And so they intermingled themselves amongst mankind so that they would be able to create offspring, but also to be worshipped by mankind. And this was completely against God's divine will and plan, which is why God had to send the flood. And some of you guys already know that story. If you don't, do your research. But I find it interesting that if you look at Ecuador, Mesopotamia, if you look at the old Eastern civilizations, if you look at the old northern civilizations, they all have these similar themes, these similar stories where it has to do with celestial beings coming to earth to mate with the women on earth. And if you've read the book of Enoch, and if the Lord has given you the knowledge already, well, you know they mated with a whole lot more than the women. They've mated with every creature. Another thing I find interesting is that there is 200 craters in our earth.
There are 194 impact craters that have been documented, and scientists will tell you that they estimate there are far more out there, but they haven't been found either because of their size or because geologic changes have obscured them.
And what is crazy is the Bible will tell you, and the book of Enoch will tell you, that 200 of these angels fell from the kingdom of heaven down to this earth. It's in the book of Enoch. Go ahead and look it up.
If you actually read the book of First Enoch, you will see in chapter 6, verse 6, that the 200 disobedient angels descended intentionally onto the peak of Mount Hermon. They did not crash into the earth and leave impact craters, according to the narrative. Now, if you go to chapter 86 and the animal apocalypse, you will get this metaphorical discussion about Enoch seeing a star falling from the heavens and then arising as an animal, and then other stars falling to earth and arising as animals. And this is a part of, again, the animal apocalypse, where humans are represented as animals, including the 12 tribes of Israel and Adam and Noah and all of this other stuff. So, according to that narrative, there also are no impact craters to speak of, and it is all entirely metaphorical. And again, there are not 200 impact craters. This is rather silly.
It has obviously come to my attention that TikTok has become the realm of making stories up and telling cool little scary stories and mythologies. Let me let this be known. Let me make this clear. This is not a story. This is not a mythology I'm trying to tell you.
Yes, it is.
This is for entertainment purposes only. TikTok, don't take this video down. This is purely entertainment.
That is correct.
But guys, you have to understand that this is a part of our ancestors' history, all of us, no matter where you come from.
No, it's not.
And that we are fighting a greater battle. We are in the midst of a great battle. And you're either going to accept this and understand what this is and find your purpose in life, or you're going to go through the matrix your whole life, never finding out why you were really put here. You are chosen by God. You were made in the image of God. And if you're watching this video, you didn't come across this video by coincidence.
That is correct. I was tagged in this video because I am on social media to combat the spread of misinformation about the Bible and religion.
It was because this video was made for you to see it.
No, it wasn't.
Now you have a choice to make. Will you come to know the
Nah, I'm good. And the fit for this video has been Master of Puppets.